Hi, I'm Sarah Taylor and I'm the technical editor for Simply Sewing magazine. Today I'm going to show you how to sew an invisible zip. So there are multiple different types of zips. You've got a standard zip, and then we've also got concealed or invisible zips. So these ones have the teeth on the back of the zip, and they're designed to be virtually invisible once they're in a garment. So things we're going to need are our zip, our zipper foot, then we'll need an invisible zipper foot, then we'll need a marking tool, we'll need a seam ripper, we'll need a ruler, some pins and a hand sewing needle. So the concealed zipper foot may or may not come with your machine. Usually you have to buy them separately. They've got little channels on the back where the coils of the zip can run. What I tend to do is baste my zips in first with the regular zipper foot. So I'll show you how to do that now. So before we do anything, we're going to take our zip to the iron and make sure it's on the lowest setting, so a synthetic setting, and just iron the coils as flat as we can get them. With an invisible zip, we are going to sew it separately before we sew the rest of the seam. So what we'll do is we'll take the front of the zip. Remember that with an invisible zip, it's the side without the coils, but the side with the zip tab. So you're going to take the left-hand side of the zip and place it against the left-hand side of the garment. And what we'll do first is we will pin it in place according to your seam allowance. Usually it will be 5/8 of an inch or 1.5 centimetres. If we measure that out using your measuring tape or marking tool, and just make sure that that's a consistent width all the way down. There may be a point marked on your pattern that tells you where to stop the zip. It's always best, I find, to use a longer zip than you need to, because it gives you more room to play with. But if we pin the zip in place in the first instance, so we will put our zip foot onto the machine first. And then we can take it to the machine and use our regular zipper foot to just baste that in place. You can use a longer stitch length if you like. You don't have to get close to the teeth, but all we're doing is just putting it in place so that we don't have to deal with the pins as we go. So take your pins out as you sew. Okay, so now we are going to take this back to the machine. Then as we sew, we are going to just pull those zipper teeth out so that they lie as flat as possible and that they're running along that groove on the underside. So we'll sew all the way to your stop point. Just make sure we've got rid of all of these little threads. Then we'll repeat the process, and we're going to place this other side on the other edge of the fabric. So we'll pin that in place, and then we will use the regular zipper foot to baste it in place. Then we will change over to our concealed zipper foot and sew down that side as well. Once that's done, you can make sure the zip functions perfectly, so just run it up and down a couple of times. Make sure you haven't caught any of the teeth. Also check at that stage to make sure that you've got close enough. So if you need to take another pass at it, you could do that then. That's that bit done. Now what we need to do is close up the rest of the seam. So we'll flip our fabric together. And we want this bit slightly out of the way. So what we can do is just pin this in place underneath where the zip ends. Now this bit here, what we're going to do is we're going to sew just a couple of mils away from our stitching line. So this was our basting stitching line, and then this was our actual stitching line. So we'll just sew a couple of mils to the left of the actual stitching line. The easiest way to do this is to put your zip foot back on, because it lets you get in closer. But start just before your other stitches end. Then we'll take it to the ironing board and just make sure that this is all pressed and nice and neat. So now that's nicely pressed, you shouldn't see much of the zip at all, but there we go. I hope you found that useful. Thanks for watching, and if you want more tips and tricks, head to our website gathered.how or follow us on our socials.